Do you welcome technology, Francis? Like, I mean, some people say there's too much technology, but do you welcome it as an aid?
There's a lot of it, but that's just the reality we're in my opinion. Everybody sees replay. Why not try to get a second look? And you brought up that play that probably brought in the ability to review major. Ultimately, why not get a second look if it can improve us to have a better call, or just to confirm our call? I don't think there's any problem with it.
So, okay, Brandon, on the linesman side, when you're talking about an offside, this whole thing started because the word egregious offside that was missed, I think it was Matt Duchesne about whatever number of years ago. And now you're making calls like a photo finish at a racetrack where they say, hold all your tickets, we got to look at it, break it down, if the horse won by a nose or whatever it may be. And that's what's come into your part of the game. And so you go over there, are there different angle camera looks? How do the two of you as linesmen view it? Do you make the call, or can the war room overturn it?
So the offsides are obviously a little more black and white. We get tremendous angles on those replays. We do have a couple different angles, but a lot of the times, and like you said, I mean, we're talking about an inch or less in some of these plays. Usually by the time we get to the iPad, the situation room has already found a pretty good angle for us. So I think as time's gone on, the offside challenges have gotten pretty short because just the league has gotten so good at finding the right angle. And we're talking about, you break video down frame by frame. We're talking one frame, it could be offside. But they're really good at getting that quickly to us.
So Trent, when you're doing offside or whatever, the video review, and you know a complaint always becomes, oh, they're taking so long. Like when you're doing it, are you cognizant, like, you know, waiting for someone in the car, like, let's get going? Or you say, geez, we're taking a little bit too long here? Or you kind of say, screw it, we got to get it right and just keep going at it?
Yeah, I think you're always aware. Like you want to do it as expeditiously as possible. But once that review is initiated, I think you're left with no other choice but to make sure that we get the call right. Like that's why this was brought in, is that we needed to make the right call. So we, like to what Francis said, if we're using it, we're going to have a second look to make sure that we're getting the call right. So unfortunately, sometimes the reviews take a little bit longer, as to Brandon's saying, because we have so many different angles and views, and it's frame by frame. And sometimes one frame shows if the play is onside, and the next frame it shows that it's offside. So it's trying to find and make sure that we get that conclusive evidence.
So Francis, first, I was going to wonder about dialogue with players. But first, players that chirp. And I would think there's players that chirp, and then there's a couple that maybe you said, geez, if that guy said something, it resonates a bit more with me. Would that be accurate?
Well, they all have their style. At the end of the day, there's a lot of emotions in our game. Some players are tougher than others. That's just, what we deal with. And sometimes there's different factors. They might be at the end of a 12-day road trip, and I'm at the end of a 10-day road trip, and we're both, tired of it, and we just go at each other's throat for no reason. It happens. But rarely, there's a personal line that it's never really crossed, and, emotions, they're part of it, and as long as we stay within that, I think we're pretty good,
So, Trent, do they chirp more to the referees, or do they vent more to the linesmen, like a way of a kid venting to his mom about his dad?
Yeah, I think us being, especially on the bench side, we tend to get it a lot more. And I always say we're just kind of a filter. So we relay the important messages to them and then just let the other stuff get burnt in the fire. So
I wonder, Brandon, because I look at the NFL, and there's always that one official by a coach. And I go, what a crappy job, right? Because he's right by the coach. And do you kind of take that, okay, it's understood that the coach is going to chirp because you're there, and what degree, where is the line? Do both sides understand the line?
Yeah, I think for the most part, coach is the same as players, as Francis was talking about. Everyone's emotional. It's an emotional game. We're going to hear a lot of things from coaches when we're in front of the bench that we don't need to share with the refs. It's just them venting, and we understand that. And if something happens where we really need to talk, maybe it's at the next media timeout that we get together. But for the most part, it's like Trent said, we're a filter.